Good
Good
evening.
evening, Nuzly.
Good evening.
Hmm.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Yeah, it's fine for me. Yeah. Just introduce yourself. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I have some disclaimers to say because there are like plenty of people were talking. They were like certain things. So before starting the show, I would like to say there will be like 10 questions that I'm going to ask. The answers here. And personally, I believe those are just pure justifications. Moving on to the next question does not mean that I accept his answers, but it's simply because I'm just moving on to the next question. Importantly, end of this show, if after my 10 to 11 question, there will be like 4 to 5 audience questions will be allowed. So don't send your questions now. Send it once I finish asking the questions. If in case if we don't get the time to finish all the 10 to 11 questions, my transcript of the question, this sheet will be uploaded in Twitter. And most importantly, I represent only myself and I do not represent the entire struggle unit. Before I jump into the questions, Namal, I have one extra question that I think it's necessary for me to ask right now because when I posted that the flyer with you, most of the people said that you do not let professional journalists interview you, and why you choose me is that some trick that I'm doing. So, do you have
It's
any
all
answer
depend
for that? I
how
think
do
it
you
will be
call
helpful.
yourself a professional journalist? Because I'm a politician and I go out in public most of the time in my life, and I do answer most of the questions that were asked by journalists, whether it's in Colombo, Hambantota, or whether I'm in Jaffna. So it's a matter of choice, and also I think Nuzly, you deserve to give a chance because you are part of Aragale. And I always stand by what I always said was that I don't have an issue with Aragale, but I do have an issue with people, certain people who are involved. මට අරගල එක්ක මගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. හැබැයි අරගල කරුවා එක්ක මට ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවා. මම දැන් ඒක confirm වුණා. That was confirmed once you posted or once you informed that you are going to interview me. They reacted. So the react by exact people who are involved with you in this Aragale, it actually confirmed to myself that what I believe is right about the Aragala Karwa. Yeah, because it's all perception, right? It's all individual based. It's all targeting Namal or Rajapaksa surname and then building a campaign around it. It's not about policies. It was never about a change or real change. Maybe certain people, of course. I mean, there were certain people who I know who were involved in Aragalia who actually went there because they really wanted the system to be changed. And I personally believe that. I personally believe the system has to be changed because I represent a subcommittee in Parliament for reforms, and I will talk about that when we go ahead with our interview. What I realized, even during that subcommittee, that there are a lot of laws and regulations that has to be changed. I mean, there are more than 500 laws in this country that was never amended for last 30, 40 years. So there were certain segment of the society who really came out because they really wanted a change. But at the same time, there were some people who was involved that who actually was involved with Aragale for personal reasons. I mean, it is evident and clear now that some of the people who were involved in Aragale are at the president's office, and some of them are working for the cabinet ministers. And some innocent people who actually thought this is a revolution, who gave up their jobs, like the police officer who came all the way. And now he was promised to give a job with 75,000 salary. And STF එකේ boy කෙනෙක් ආවා. ඒ boy ව next day interview කරා. හැබැයි අද වෙනකන් ඒ boy ට රස්සාවක් දෙනවා කියලා ඉස්සරහට ආපු අය අරගලෙන් පස්සේ හොයාගන්නත් නැහැ. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ අරගල කරුව පිළිබඳව මුස්ලිම්මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි අරගලේ පිළිබඳව මට ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. ඉතින් මම ඔයාව තෝරගන්න හේතුව why I decided that I will go for interview with you because then I will be able to talk to you directly.
So there is no particular reason you don't choose to not to
Well, it's
go with
again the
professional
question
journalism?
is what do you mean by professional? Sometimes news anchors call themselves professional journalists, and there are actual professional journalists. But sometimes there are journalists who interpret what's going on paper, as what they believe in. So I will definitely give a couple of interviews starting from today, and I was lined up my interview series from January actually, because I thought I'll wait for the budget and the government has to be completed because still the cabinet is not completed. And we also have to see what is our role in the current administration. Because as you know, we helped President Wickremesinghe to become the president from the parliament as SLPP, as a political party. And now the elections are being called. And I hope that elections will be held early next year or mid next year, so that the people will have the opportunity to vote and select the local leaders who they want to represent, who they believe that the local community can be represented. And there is no particular political reason for an interview, because any journalist can catch me wherever I go.
So yeah, thank you for that. I'll move on to my first question. It's been exactly 5 months since July 9th happened, which means the people power actually ousted the Rajapaksa president. For literally months, your family, or SLPP politicians couldn't crawl out of your houses or Navy camps, to be honest, right? Do you think Sri Lankan people will be conned again for you to become the president?
Firstly, I must say that there are 225 members in parliament who are aspiring to be the president. And there are 8,000 local council leaders who believe they could be the president. And there were thousands of kids at Aragali who thought they can be the president of this country one day. And end of the day, Ranil Wickremesinghe, after 45 years, became the president of the country in the parliament. So that is democracy. So democracy is something that you and me can't predict. People have to choose who they want to be led. And I'm sure all politicians are aspiring to be leaders, but then there's only one person who can become the president of the country. And we see a lot of changes happening globally, right? I mean, if you look at London, for the first time, an Indian origin prime minister has been elected. A Malaysian opposition leader for longest time became the prime minister of Malaysia. And then we have Junior Marcos coming back to power, and we have mid-elections in US, where Donald Trump is coming back. Donald Trump has done well. And there are so-called superpowers who are struggling to keep up the post-COVID economy. So leadership is something that cannot be chosen by yourself, but that has to be that has to be the people.
Isn't Ranil was ousted by the people, but SLPP Parliament members brought him in?
See, it's democracy. So maybe someone who was involved in Aragali like you believe that the revolution can appoint a leader, but that you can't do that in a democratic country, fortunately, or whether it's unfortunate for you and your team. But fortunately, leaders are elected by democracy, by election. And Sri Lanka never had a history of being elected by revolution. Revolutions are good to prove a point, but when it comes to governing, it's a totally different ballgame. So people thought certain segment of the society who cannot be elected by people, I must say, because once you posted that thing that you're going to interview me today, if I went through most of the comments, and the comments da poya kawadaවත් මට ඡන්දදී පොයත් නෙවෙයි, and Gotabaya Rajapaksa ඡන්දදී පොයත් නෙවෙයි. So obviously they voted against us, but then when they realized that they cannot change the government by vote, then they use this particular program or revolution or Aragale or the entire situation that was created to gain power. And there are political parties in this country, like JVP to be exact. They tried the same thing in 88 and 89, they failed. And they tried the same thing, I believe, May 9. Gival Pansi Gana Ginitiela, Parliament to Mantrikane Pare Marala. And if it was go home, Gota, I don't think they should assault Kumar Welgama, because Kumar Welgama was the first to say go home, Gota. And Kumar Welgama Matumata, a Vaisabane to Gahala, Berave Gilla Marala, Paravala, Manusiong Retika, and Galavala, again a Gilla. And Ekanang may Venese Balapurtu, Nuzly. A Venesakata, the Piamera Taganian name and Api රට සැබෑ වෙනසකට අරගෙන යනවාද කියන එක තරුණ කට්ටිය තීන්දුව කරන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් 88 89 අරගලයකින් බලයට ගන්න ගිහපු අය උත්සාහ කරා. නැවත වතාවක් ඒ පාරෙම ගිහිල්ලා බලය ලබා ගන්න. මේක ලංකාවේ හිස්ටරි එකේ ෆස්ට් ටයිම් වෙච්ච එකක් නෙමෙයි. අපි දැක්කා LTT එක වේලුපිල්ලේ ප්‍රභාකරන්ට තේරුණාම ඡන්දකින් උතුරේ දේශපාලන හයිය ලබා ගන්න බෑ කියලා. He ended up becoming the most ruthless terrorist in the world, right? So that is part of the game. I mean, that is what he did. But I strongly believe, democracy is the way forward. Elections are the way forward. If people want me or not, the revolution or Ragale cannot decide whether they want me in politics or not. But they can campaign against me all they want in next parliament election. Please come to Hambantota, select your candidate from any political party and back him. So you guys can defeat me in my own constituency.
Again, even though you say that like democratically Ranil Wickremesinghe was chosen, Ranil Wickremesinghe, I have to state that Ranil Wickremesinghe couldn't even get 30,000 votes.
Can I ask you a question? That's very interesting point. I must answer you this, but at the same time I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who are the other options we had in parliament?
That I will come, because I am coming to a political how campaigning.
No, forget about the campaign. Just give me a simple answer, Nuzly. What are the options we had in parliament? Okay, I'll answer that for you. I'll give you an answer. It's much more easy for me. Otherwise, you are saving time.
No. I will tell, because if I give you a name, it's like I am.
Let me give you the name. We have Namal Rajapaksa from JVP. We have Honorable Dallas Alhapur, part of SLPP. And we have Sajid Premadasa, opposition leader, tied up with Honorable Dallas Alhapur, right? So now, Honorable Sajid Premadasa came as a PM candidate. So forget it. He would have become the Prime Minister and the President easily by accepting President Namal Rajapaksa's request, but he never did that.
No, the problem here is, Namal, the problem here is not Ranil or Dallas or Anur Kumar. The problem here is people don't see accountability. That people think, where are our stolen money? Like, what happened to the accountability? If Ranil is going to make this country great, I would be the first person to vote him next time. That's no question asked. The problem is, where is
so this question you guys should have thought before you ask whether to go home. You never thought about it. Nuzly, except you guys never anticipated this.
No.
None of you all anticipated that Gotabaya Rajapaksa will walk away. Because his perception is a Hitler. So all thought he will control. Even myself, I honestly thought he will on his own way. But he decided to walk away without killing thousands of innocent youth who came out.
Now, even if we have personally thought, naively, I have myself had thought he would walk away. But yeah, like you said, it's our fault that we didn't.
Now you have to think. Okay, now I'm getting at your point, brother. Now listen to me. Now you never thought what's the outcome. Then there's a democratical way, the constitutional way of transition of power. Then we had to go to parliament, where JVP tried to take over parliament. I must say that, and it was stopped by military, led by President Wickremesinghe at that time, okay, as a acting president. Then we went to parliament. Then we had three options. Honorable Wickremesinghe with 30,000 votes. Then we had Anur Kumar Dissanayake with 3%, 3 members in parliament and 3% of the vote base in the country. Then we had Honorable Dallas Alhapur, who has got only 50,000 preferential votes in Madhya district. So tell me the difference between these three people when it comes to accountability.
No, what I'm saying is, again, it's not about, okay, it's democratical way he has come. Yes, fine. The problem is,
so when you do something unaccountable yourself, you cannot expect the outcome to have accountability, brother. You listen to that. So when you guys planned a revolution, you see. I'll tell you a small example. I'll tell you in a way you can understand, right? Because then your audience also can understand what I'm trying to say. So President Wickremesinghe made a statement in Parliament recently. If you try to do a if you try to foil democracy, or if you want to do Aragale, I will put emergency law and military, right? So, Ranil Wickremesinghe Mahathaya ඒ දෙක දාලා බණක් කියනවා කියලා කිව්වේ නැහැ. He gave a message. Similarly, when you do Aragale, when you do a revolution, you have to accept the outcome. And accept the outcome is not what you wanted or I wanted. Our outcome wasn't that. I'll tell you one more example. Before you started this entire Aragale episode in 2000, in May 31st, not May, actually March 31st, at President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's private residence. Sri Lanka had 106,000 tourist arrivals on that month, in March. And you know, from that day to now, it has always been declining. In November, we hardly were able to reach 60,000. And today we had 2,000. Yesterday, 7th of December, we had 2,000 plus tourist arrivals for a day, and about 16,000 tourist arrivals for the month of December. But this last November, we would have had at least 200,000 tourists coming into the country. But why?
So I will come to you. I will tell you. The maximum dollar income that Sri Lanka has brought from tourism is 2 billion per year. You are focusing on that. And what I'm going to tell you in the next question, how the money has stolen. I'm talking about not 2 billion, more than that. So I'll move.
Are you sure the tourism income is 2 billion? Or is it 4 billion?
Yeah, it's 2018.
Maybe
it's
maybe you're talking about the East attack. Yeah. That was very low. Okay.
No, before
go ahead with your question.
2018, I'm talking about. Anyways, yeah. When you were the sports minister, we have seen photos of you attending all kind of ministerial meetings, regardless of your portfolio. Is it true that you interfere in all kind of ministries where people call you minister?
Not people, certain people.
Why you
social media? And I didn't mind.
I mean, it's still.
I hope they are
Sri Lankan
people in Sri Lanka because
still
apparently some of them are not Sri Lankan citizens. But let me answer your question.
Just like Diana Gamage.
She's a Sri Lankan citizen, right? I don't know. I thought she's part of you guys before.
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's a British citizen.
So,
anyways.
now let me answer this.
Yeah, answer the
question. Basically, let me be very specific on this. And I was a minister for youth and sports, right? And digitalization. Yeah. So, digitalization requires a lot of coordination with line ministries. Because as you know, citizen services, digitalizing citizen services is not a single window approach. But its outcome of that is going to be single window. But there are many departments that we have to bring together to build, to get into one single platform. So UID is the pioneer project of citizen services, where I'm glad that the current minister, State Minister Honorable Kanaka Hirath, is taking it forward, and the bid proposal will be out in another couple of weeks' time. And he had a progress meeting last week. So this required coordinating with many government institutions. And also at the same time, as a Minister of Youth, I do have to coordinate with the Education Ministry, then Vocational Training Ministry, and many other organizations. And also I was involved in certain legal reforms, like Data Protection Act, which we had to work with the Justice Ministry and the ICTA and technology industry. Then there were many other, the sports law, we had to work with the Justice Ministry. Just because I'm the Sports and Youth Minister, I can't do the law by myself. I have to coordinate with the Justice Ministry. And there were many other reforms that I was working on within my framework, or within the framework of Youth and Sports Ministry, where I had a lot of coordination to be done with many other areas, and we were focusing mainly on sports economy. So when you do focus on sports economy, you need to be working with the Tourism Ministry, because you know, for example, the LPL, which is going on now, I started during the COVID time, and I had to coordinate with the Tourism Ministry, COVID Health Ministry, to make sure that happens at that time. And
so that's the only reason.
So there are one more reason. I'll get that too. I'll give you that reason as well. And let me finish this part of the question. And also, if you look at the cricket board itself, you know, we made $40 million in 1.5 years. $40 million is the revenue for the cricket board. So we had a plan, and to do that, I can't do it on my own. I had to work with other line ministries. And at the same time, most of Sri Lankans know that I'm very active on social media. So if someone requests me to assist them with something, then I do coordinate with the line ministry and try to get things done. Because if I'm to be reached, if people reach up to me, I can't just say, this is nothing to do with my ministry, but so I can't assist, please find someone else, so I can't do that. So I have to help these people, whoever want assistance, they have to reach out to me, and then I have to look into it. And at the same time, the question is, why do you complain when someone is actually trying to do something, and not complain about the others who doesn't do anything, right? So I personally believe if all 225 members are active on social media and they respond and they actually do the necessary coordination part for the people, a lot of issues can be sorted then and there. That I personally believe, and I'm sure the next generation of politicians will do that. Honorable Kanchan Vijayasekara, Shyam Singh are very active on social media, and they're active on Twitter. They respond and they act and they react. The issue we had in our government is that the reaction was very slow for most of the incidents. So I think this is something that we need to correct.
Anyways, I didn't get my answer, but I'll move on to next question. You actually a while ago you talked about May 9th actually. So before, yes, I personally and the struggle, like everyone involved in the struggle, that as far as I know, we condone what happened to the MP that was killed, and burning those houses was a very harsh incident. But let's rewind 6 hours, 12 hours before that incident, where there was a incident happened in Temple Trees. If I remember, I have seen videos where Johnston Fernandez says, Yamu, let's Satana Arambakaram, and you are saying Yamu goal face Yamu. What was the agenda behind this meeting? Is it to purely attack the goal-face protesters? And what did you achieve by attacking these protesters? Because in those attacking videos, I will tell you, Sanat Nishanta was present at goal-face because I was there. I know Sanat Nishanta was there. Deshabandhu Tennakon was there. Dan Prasad was there. So many prominent SLPP people were there. So before you go into that after effect of what happened, I condone that, but I want to talk about the first until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Until
Firstly, I must say, Mr. Deshabandhu was there on duty. He was not part of the meeting, and Dan Prasad is not a member of SLPP also, and he was
not in the meeting. I'm talking
he was
about
Mr. Deshabandhu was in Goalface for duty. He was a police officer on duty, so he cannot avoid his duty when he was posted at Goalface. But let me explain this to you very clearly. The meeting at Temple Trees.
He promised us no one will come over that line and attack us. But he let us in front of my eyes. He let us attack us.
I think that you have to deal with him, because I'm not.
He didn't do his job properly.
I did not promise you anything, so you better speak to him and ask him why did he promise you that. And my grandfather has always told my father not to believe a police officer, so I think I must tell you that. So let me be very clear about this meeting on the 9th, very clearly. And the meeting was organized by the local council organization. The Palat Panasams are there, and they just want to come and greet former Prime Minister at that time, and then move forward. So unfortunate incident happened, but it was never planned. It was not part of the agenda, and we were expecting about 20-30 people to come and talk to him, but then it happened to be 20-30,000 people. And this particular incident that took place at Goalface was just a part of that people who came, and it was not been planned or mentioned or in any of our agendas, or it was not part of the program. And this particular meeting was organized by the local council leadership. And I'm not going to go into facts about people around it, because it's a matter in courts now, and I'm sure it will be decided in courts. So I'm not going to comment as to who was there and what they have been doing and what role they have been playing. But let it be handled in courts, and I'm sure everyone who's involved, and if there is injustice, the court will look into it. But we never had any sort of intention of attacking Goalface. But do you know, at that time, it was President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was the president, Namal Rajapaksa was the Prime Minister. So if we want to attack Aragali, do you think we'll stay for that long? No, we never wanted. Not even then, even when President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's house, his personal house.
You are literally threatening us. You can do
No, I'm
whatever
not
you want in this
threatening you,
country.
but this is Mr. Vikramasinghe showed you what a president can do. Right? You guys are getting it now. You can't say no. But Gotabaya Rajapaksa never did that. He actually respected you guys. He was listening to you all. He was accommodating you all in front of his office for more than 3 months. And go back to UK Prime Minister himself says that he's going to pass law that he will not accommodate or entertain any protest. And this is in United Kingdom, who advise you and me about democracy. And they are doing it now. And most of the world leaders are taking Mr. Vikramasinghe's way forward, not Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa's way forward when it comes to Aragali. So I must admit, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa took the wrong way.
Same way. I think same way Johnson Fernando is following when he said
I think
Yamo Satana.
you have heard Mr. Johnson Fernando's edited version of video, so you should listen to his full speech.
Okay. Honestly, not.
I think I'm being very honest. You should look at the full video. And if you want, I can send that to you. If you want, I can get someone to post it to you. And you should listen to his full video. And I never said Yamu Goldface. It was a guy in front of me. I have given a statement, and I'm sure you have seen that also live, but that's not my voice.
Anyways, moving on. Your father, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, and Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, agreed or not, main reasons why monks getting involved in politics. Most of your political campaigns or throughout your governments, racism was blossoming. Alugama riots, Digana riot, Wanda Kottu, Dr. Shafi's incident, Hijaz Hizbullah, Israel attacks, not allowing burial of COVID victims. These were mainly done by endorsing extremists like Jnanasara, Thero, Dan Prasad, and many others. Before you go tell Easter attack was done in other Yahapal era, I would like to quote something said by Malcolm Ranjit Cardinal. The idea was to ensure an undue advantage to one candidate who emerged forward, promising national security. Zahran was in military intelligence. Subsequent investigation indicate that this massacre was part of a grand political plot. So my question is, you can't say you do not know Dan Prasad because I have seen 4 or 5 pictures.
By the way, one of those pictures, the guys who came up with you, that bodybuilding boy. You can check the picture, I'll send you.
Okay. So Mr. Jnanasara was the chairman of Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa's One Country, One Law. So SLPP was just blossoming with racism. That's what I'm trying to say. My question is simple. Don't you want minorities to live?
Firstly, the Buddhist clergy came into politics not during SLPP or SLPP or my father's tenure. It did happen during President Chandrika's time through Hello Rumia, where Honorable Sampik Ranamaki is heading now. And Mr. Honorable Uday Gammapala was part of that political party until 2015, where he broke away and created a political party called Pivitulu Hello Rumia. So the Buddhists were getting into active politics, were part of, parliamentary politics, I would say. Active politics, it was there ever since historically the Buddhist monks were, and all religion leaders were advising political leaders. But it did happen with Hello Rumia under President Chandrika's time, but they went against President Chandrika, I must say that also. And Honorable Sampik Ranamaki was part of that political party still. And SLPP is a social democratic party, and we never endorsed racism. And it was my father who made all Sri Lankans live peacefully in this country by eradicating LTT. And that was the way forward for all leaders or all political parties to do politics in one country. Until 2009, there was no elections in North, and there was no democracy in this country. But it was eradicating LTT. But some wants to interpret that as eradicating Tamils. No. Tamils are different from LTT. LTT is a terrorist organization. So I must clearly say that we have no involvement in any of those incidents. But yes, the Ghana incident happened during last government, and Alugam incident happened during my father's government. And we don't endorse them, and we believe Sri Lanka, where all communities must live peacefully. And I'm a strong Sinhala Buddhist. I'm not saying no. I believe in Buddhism. I'm a very strong Sinhala Buddhist.
How about not allowing
You should ask the exact. I saw the same doctor who advised Gotabaya Rajapaksa at Aragale. You must ask that doctor.
You mean Professor
Not
Channa
him.
Jayasamana?
He was part of the he was a state minister at that time, but there was an expert panel who advised President Gotabaya Rajapaksa for two things. One is the lockdown, unnecessary lockdown, where President Gotabaya Rajapaksa came out on media and said, I can lock down the country, but that will have a bad impact on economy. He said himself, but he didn't have option because the doctors were advising him, the medical council or the group of experts were advising him to do so. Same thing with COVID waiver. It was advised by the experts not to do that until they give the green light. And that has nothing to do with the religion or any sort of involvement. And then getting back to East attack. So if we had any sort of political gaining from East attack, do you know we lost both Christian areas in elections? We lost Nigambo, we lost Watkala. So it did not give any sort of political advantage. And those kind of incidents.
But your political campaign was basically about saving the country.
No, that's
exactly what
Malcolm is a social democratic party, as I said, and we believe in national security very strongly, whether there was East attack or not. And we, even next campaign, we will always make sure that we will protect national security. It's nothing new for us. And we believe that is the way forward. And I must admit, we failed during Aragale. We did not give security, or we did not implement law and order. We waited till people come and kill each other. We waited till they kill MPs and go back. We waited till they burn houses. We didn't act. And I'm telling you, we will not repeat that mistake again.
I mean, for that, you guys have to come into power, which is, I don't know. You are
let people decide that. Let people decide that.
Anyways, so you are saying you guys aren't involved in, it's certain particular people involved in not allowing burials or Easter Sunday or Dr. Chavez incident.
All these incidents are in courts now. So I'm sure anyone who has evidence, they can go and give it to the courts or the police. Right? That is much more easier than we debating it on media. Right? Because you need justice. You don't need an argument.
I mean, it's been forever now. Anyways, next question. The Pandora Papers reveal that Rajapakshas have large amount of movable and immovable assets directly involved in Nirupama Rajapaksa.
My sister,
your aunt.
Relationship is my
wherever sister. There's
is my sister.
Your sister. Okay. Wherever there is a corruption scandal in Sri Lanka or abroad, Rajapaksa is involved. I would like to get 4 cases for you to mainly talk. I don't need to go into all the topics, so that first case I'm going to talk is Krish Deal in Fort Magistrate. You have case number B195/16. In this case, you and this particular businessman gave 70 million rupees to you, agreed that he gave money 70 million to you, and you agreed as well, and you said you spent that on rugby sevens, I guess. But in the same court, Rugby Federation denied that. Why I'm choosing this case is this particular businessman's account in Singapore was involved in 4 other cases. One is Airbus deal, where Mr. Kapila Chandrasena, that time Sri Lankan Airlines chairman's wife, Priyanka, I think Priyanka Niyamali, I guess Priyanka Vijayanayaka, got 2 million from Airbus company as a commission for the deal that Sri Lanka had with airlines, with Airbus. And Priyanka actually sent $800,000 to this particular businessman's account. Same with Noorali Hospital. NR Projects in Netherlands forwarded 4.3 million euros to this particular businessman's Singapore accounts. And also Hambantota Hospital deal where Aspen Medicals Australia forwarded $555,000 to this particular businessman's account in Singapore. Why this particular businessman account is, you have got 70 million from this particular businessman for Krish thing, and you say you have spent it on rugby sevens, but the federation denies that. My question for you is, are you guys, are the Rajapaksas in it for the country or in it for the money?
Do you want the answer for the first one or the second one?
I mean, I
you asked
just
three
asked
questions.
one question.
One
Are you guys in it for the money or the country?
Then
no, the Pandora. These comes up.
So let me break it into three pieces and answer, because that will make much more easier for you to understand. So Pandora Papers, yes, Nirupama Rajapaksa's husband, Mr. Thirunadesan, who was a businessman in this country for generations, and he's married to Nirupama. And Thiru is not my cousin. Nirupama is my cousin, and she's married to Thirunadesan. And this particular transaction you're talking about took place in 1990, between 1990 and year 2000. And that time, none of the Rajapaksas were in power. My father was just a cabinet minister. It was President Premadasa, Honorable Sajid Premadasa's father, who was the president at that time. At the later part of that decade was President Chandrika. So if someone to be questioned for Pandora Papers of Thirunadesan, I think you should first question Mr. Premadasa and then Mr. Chandrika Bandaranayak Kumar Tunga to get further details. And just because my cousin is married to that person doesn't mean that she or myself or our family has anything to do with that. What took place in between 1990 and year 2000. And then getting back to this particular case that you mentioned, was a sponsorship, and it was not 70 million to be precise. It was 50 million sponsorship given to Carlton Rugby Sevens by a company called Krish, and that had nothing to do with that businessman. But that businessman happened to be the chairman of Carlton Super Sevens. So Rugby Union at that time was led by one of the colleagues of Mr. I don't want to mention names, but
That's exactly why I didn't mention the businessman.
So government at that time, and they had this particular organization called Dushana Virodhi Kamatur, which had Aegis Department representative, Honorable Kumar Dizanayak, Honorable Swandiram, then Raj Semra, Honorable Minister at that time, Honorable Champika Ranavaka. So they decided who they should file cases. So a group of politicians sitting with Aegis Department inside Temple Trees draft complaints and decide who they are going to put a complaint and do investigation on. So this particular investigation is something to do with that. That businessman is he has been a business for ever since. I mean, he's not my age, he's my father's friend. And they have been business for a long time, and he has done business with many governments, many organizations, in the stock market, many investments he has done. He's a prominent businessman. So they want to attack myself and this particular businessman. So they created this story, and now it's in courts. So we are sure that we can prove ourselves that we are right in courts. And not only this, I had 19 cases. I had 19 cases like that. And some of the cases, there is no complainant. Complainant is Dushan Mardana Kamitu. And FCID was illegally constituted. It's not a constitutional body. It was illegally drafted or illegally formulated by the government at that time. And politicians cannot sit with Aegis Department inside Temple Trees and decide who they're going to put cases. And they come on media. The politicians come on media and say, look what is going to happen to Namal tomorrow. He'll be arrested. Right? And they did that. And at the later part of that government, now Justice Minister, Honorable Rajapaksa, came on media and he explained this, how this entire episode took place. Head of FCID, a person who was heading FCID, clearly gave a statement that how he was forced by certain politicians to put cases against myself and some of our family members. So, if you want to frame us for fake allegations, that is the way forward. But if you really want to understand reality, and the truth. It's just like Dubai Marriott Hotel. At that time, everyone went to Dubai. Honorable Ranjan Ramanayake, to be precise, he went in front of Marriott Hotel and said, "This is Namal Rajapaksa's hotel." And and the government at that time sent a group of MPs, uh, officials, to Dubai to do investigation. And Honorable Vikramasinghe last week mentioned in Parliament that there is no any sort of evidence to say that we had any link in Dubai or any businesses in Dubai. And Honorable Rajasendra, listen,
So
Honorable
you are saying
Rajasendra started with
Nirupam,
$18 billion. $18 billion. And President Sirisena mentioned a Buckingham Palace in America. And the guy who were mentioning about Lamborghinis,
I mean, I'm
Lamborghinis,
not
Honorable
into
Andukumar Dissanayake now saying in a TV program, he never mentioned that Namal has Lamborghinis. So they use these for political gaining. Obviously, people get fooled sometimes. People get excited when they hear these things, and they get misled.
So you are saying that Nirupam Rajapaksa didn't do anything with Tsunami Relief Fund. This document that I have from France Embassy that in 2014 that your mother has visited for UNESCO Vesak celebration, which cost 25 million rupees. And
All
like,
what you are questioning
these
now
are like
was investigated during Japan government, last government, by FCID. All these allegations.
So it's just allegations made by
Some are by
politicians.
politicians, some are by
That's about it.
organizations, some are by individuals. That has been politics in this country. I must say this because most of your listeners are youngsters. අපේ රටේ politician ම තමයි politician ට හොරා කියාගත්තේ. ඒක you can't blame the public for that. පාර්ලිමේන්තු එකේ ඊයේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු බලන්නකෝ. ඊයේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු ඩිබේට් එක බලුවා. දෙන්න දෙපැත්තට හොරා කියාගත්ත අර බජට් එකෙන් රටට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ මිනිස්සුන්ට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක පිළිබඳව කී දෙනාට කතා කරේ. So this is the reality. So this is what I think you guys should fight for. The actual change. Actual change that you and myself, we both believe in. Progress. Right? Accountability. And our accountability can ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහුවා. දැන් මට කියනවා 2015, right? 2015 to 20 or 19. 12.5 billion ISBs, right? ISBs are there. 12.5 billion. Where is accountability? For what?
I mean, your what elections campaign in 2019 was basically about Ranil's Mahabank Hora, but Ranil is the president now, anyways. You are staying
and that's thanks to you guys.
No one else.
That's thanks to you guys.
I mean,
you guys
didn't make
him the president. We just supported you.
The president, 134 MPs. You guys supported, right?
Okay,
if you
this,
really
if you in
wanted
parliament,
to make a president,
if you in parliament,
guys
who would have selected? Who would you have selected?
No, I'm just saying.
If you are there, who would have selected?
I don't need to.
Okay,
no,
now
let me
tell you this, right? In 2015, 14 to 20, 19, 12.5 billion ISBs are taken.
So then why is
and tell me this. Between 2005 to 2015, while fighting a war, while developing all these infrastructure developments, airports, ports, highways, right? Fighting a war, President Rajapaksa has only taken 5.5 billion ISBs. And at the same time, he doubled the per capita income. Doubled the per capita income since independence within that 10 years to 2,000 to 4,000. The inflation was single digit. Today it's something around 70. Debt to GDP was reduced to 71% from 92%. Okay? And at the same time, the unemployment rate was dropped to single digit. This is between 2005 to 2015.
Again, okay, let me be naive. Let me be naive and all Rajapaksa supporters and you guys did it. My next question is, Gotabaya Rajapaksa was president. Your father was the prime minister. Basil Rajapaksa was the finance minister. Your family literally within 2 years brought this country to its knees. Because I'm talking about this sugar scam that was done. You talked about 12 billion. I'm talking about 15.6.
Is it rupees or dollars? I'm talking about dollars. You're talking about rupees.
Yeah, and also we are talking about a coal scam that's been happening for $1.5 billion which was given to Black Sand Company. And I'm talking about Singsiam LP gas company, which was you guys were supposed to buy for $96 per metric ton, which you are currently buying for $129
when did that happen?
per metric ton.
Which year?
These things happened this year.
Which part of this year? This year was very dramatic.
Sugar scam.
I don't know which month.
I'm talking about still your government is in charge, your MPs are in charge. So I'm talking about this year and last year. Sugar scam was last year.
I personally, first let me answer this. I think sugar scam allegation is a revenue loss, projected revenue loss. It's not actual revenue loss. But the investigation must happen. And if that has been done intentionally, action has to be taken place. And we have informed that to the current president as well. And he should investigate on that. And other allegations I'm not quite familiar with. But if there is, then personally I'm telling the investigations must take place. But I'm telling you again.
So you are self-claim patriotic, right? You claim yourself as a patriotic.
What do you mean by patriotism? What do you mean by patriotism?
How do you say you love this country?
Just because you love a country, you're not
patriotic as per me.
Some people say I will take a bullet for my country, but they don't.
So you willing to
I will
take a bullet for your
do
country?
my best for my country, but I will not tell things that I cannot do.
Okay, so just answer this question. Do you believe your father and your two uncles led this inadequate leadership led this country to
do you accept that 2005 and 2015 the country did really well?
I told you first. Let me be extremely naive.
Okay,
I'm
talking
about 2019 to 21.
So 2005 we had 8.7 billion foreign reserves, 5.5 billion ISPs. 2015 at the end of 2014. From 2014 to 2019, the reserves dropped to 7.1 billion, and we took 12.5 billion ISPs, and no infrastructure development was done. And top of that, Hambantota port was sold, and transaction was $998 million or something for 85%. And then also at that particular time period, the East attack took place, right? And the tourism started dropping, and there was no infrastructure development that took place from 2015 to 20. Also, last power project was started by President Rajapaksa, a wind power project in 2014. Yahapalna government couldn't finish that project until 2020. And that would have given 100 megawatts, right?
If you are gonna blame the opposition, I can also tell, like yesterday, auditor's report suggested we are losing 6 billion rupees, I guess, from your Gotabaya Rajapaksa cancelling the LRT project. You guys said it's not feasible. It was not feasible, but it was the most feasible German loan you could ever get.
It's not about the loan. I'll answer you that first before I get into the other part of the question. It's not about the loan. So
no, are we
going to just take a loan because it is feasible, or it is not because it's for a loan for a low interest, or are we going to take a loan for something that we can contribute?
Now we are not even paying that back, but we have to pay 6 billion extra.
Yeah, but it was a policy decision taken not by President Rajapaksa himself, but the finance ministry officials and central bank at that time. But let me finish where I started.
Again.
So not a single megawatt was introduced to the grid from 2015 to 20. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm trying to explain it to you, the real situation, which you guys seem to not understand, or you do understand, but you don't want to admit it. So when you don't put a single megawatt to your grid for 6 years, and yet you keep on giving new connections and increasing consumption, whether you have the oil well in your country, or whether you have oil well at your house, or whether you have rooftop solar everywhere, right? You still will go for a power crisis because you don't have the capacity, right? So now I'm asking
I'm not here to.
The problem is not the blame game.
Or Maitri or Ranil or Sajid. I'm asking fertilizer bans, sugar scams, stopping LRT projects, and all these mismanagement.
Fertilizer, do you think chemical
Don't you
fertilizer is good?
think no, that's not the
That
question
is the
here. Banning it in
question
one
I'm
night
asking
is the
also.
question.
That is wrong.
How did
I'm
he
not saying
take
it's
that?
right. Exactly my
Exactly.
point.
That's why I'm
I
saying
stand by I stand by with you with
leadership by
in
your
that
father and your two
because
uncles, isn't it?
it would have been implemented periodically and it was a 10-year program. I don't know why who advised to take it overnight, but it's a wrong move. And I have mentioned that not now. When I was a minister, I have mentioned that. As a minister of the government of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, I told that in media that fertilizer ban has to be managed and not to be done overnight. I'm not telling that today. I told when I was in his cabinet. And sugar, yes, if there is mismanagement, there has to be investigation. We have already informed the president about that. There has to be investigation. LRT project decision was taken as a policy decision. And I'm not going to argue whether it's a good loan or not. A loan, if you don't need a loan, you don't need a loan. I mean, if you want to take a loan for sake of taking it, then you're in trouble. Because what we have done in the past, some of the mistakes we have done in the past
No,
is taking
no,
loans.
that's not what I'm saying. Because of inappropriate termination, we are paying 6 billion
Yeah,
extra now. That's my point.
that has to be looked into.
We
I mean,
don't have
if the
money
Auditor
now.
General says that, along with the same statement Auditor General has given about Honorable Sajid Premadas's about the housing ministry, this also has to be investigated. Both has to be investigated, not one.
For your information, I'm not established party, so you don't need to come and tell me. I'm not
Neither
fighting
do
with
I.
anyone
I'm
here.
being honest.
You need to understand that. So, you didn't answer my question. Inadequate leadership by any
It's.
of your
I
by
think
your
lack
father
of
or any
political
of your
willingness because
uncles?
my father was not part of the administration. He was the prime minister, but he was not in the decision-making process, which I had to admit. I believe if he was involved in decision making, he would have made it much more better political decisions than my uncle. I have to admit that. Because my uncle is never a politician because at that time people wanted someone outside 225. That was the campaign. And the initial campaign was that. Then the second campaign that Namal Rajapaksa should keep out and allow President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to run the country. Social media campaign was the Mahinda Ayar Malita Bharatula Pattakadu Venna. So that's what Mahinda Rajapaksa was doing. But at the same time, he was trying to help to establish a political setup to move forward. But at the same time, most of the administration decisions were taken by a different group or different table. Otherwise,
So you are blaming
not
Gotabaya
him.
Rajapaksa
It's a
and
collective
his team.
responsibility. As a cabinet, we all have to take a responsibility. And not only myself. In that cabinet, Mr. Udega Mappila was there, Mr. Dala Salhatguru was there, Vimal Veeramansa was there. So all of us are part of the cabinet. Once if we can take the good things that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa have done during the COVID time, we should be
Why
able to take
do
the
you
bad as
guys
well.
think that you guys ruined the country in 2 years? Why you guys still in taking the ministerial presidents and working? Why you guys think that people who broke the system can restore it and can bring this country alive? Like
Firstly, I don't
you
think,
guys did it. I
Nuzly,
mean, you
I
guys
don't
tried
think
again.
you understand the reality of economics. And if you go back to 2015 and see what has happened in the country, then you will take your statement away. And also, if you understand global economics and geopolitics, you will have a different opinion, a different view about your question. So the economic crisis did not happen in 2 years. It started in 2015. Once the entire government started changing the direction of 6.5% economic growth into 3%. And then shifting all infrastructure projects saying it's corruption and stopping the Port City project, which had $1.5 billion investment for investigation and claiming investors and taking them to FCID for investigation, saying that they had backed Rajapaksa. So all the investors backed off from Sri Lanka. And energy crisis were never managed in that 5 years. So we had no,
Again,
I'm
you are
telling you
blaming
the
Jayapalani.
situations that has taken
I'm not.
place. Because you can't move forward if you don't accept your past. You just
I'm telling you, we want accountability. We personally, as a youngster of this country, I want personally accountability, not only against you, but also against Jayapalani or before that, or Chandrika, if she has done something wrong. But my question is basically about
so
last 2 years. And
do you
if you are going
think
to just post it,
Do you think
we are
do
also,
you think this
you are
entire
saying
episode
you are
happened in
also
2 years?
wrong, but
So do you think Gotabaya Rajapaksa should have managed COVID better? I'm asking you a
what
question.
I'm
I'm
saying,
asking you,
I'm trying to
do
get
you
your answer
think
here. I'm trying to get your question answer. You are saying, yes, we are wrong, but Also 2015 to 19 also.
Can I tell you something?
That's what your answer
okay.
is, right?
If your national grid hasn't been increased, right? If not a single megawatt was introduced to the national grid for 5 years, and all of a sudden you become the chairman of a board and you face an energy crisis, whom to be blamed? The guy who is in power at that time, or the people who did not implement it within last 5 years, right?
Again, I'm not right person.
I'm trying to tell you, you can have enough arguments at Aragale because no one is going to talk truth. I'm telling you.
Well,
I'm talking about the reality. Reality of the face that this crisis was not started with COVID. COVID is one of the economic crises that we have to go through, but the actual issue actually started many years ago. Wrong policies, right? Lack of leadership in certain areas, lack of not being willing to change, right? So this is something that we all have to understand. And if you don't accept that, and if you just trying to look at 2 years and say, oh my God, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa තමයි මේ රටම කෑවේ කියලා. හිත හදාගෙන ඉස්සරහට යන්න බැලුවොත් මල්ලි හැමදාම පිටිපස්සම තමයි. So if you really want a progressive country, right? Look at the bigger picture. This Sri Lanka is bigger than what you think, right? We are in between a geopolitical war. We are in between a geopolitical struggle. So there are many people, many organizations want Sri Lanka. Some want to see we are doing well, but they වගේම ඉන්නවා සමත් කට්ටියක් ඉන්නවා නෑ Sri Lanka shouldn't do well කියලා. So මේ reality එක තේරුම් ගන්න නැතුව අන්තිමට අවසාන ප්‍රතිඵලය තමයි අරගලයට වෙච්ච අවසාන ප්‍රතිඵලය. මේක තමයි reality එක. Whether you like it or not, Nuzly, we have to admit that. So if you are looking way forward, if you and your team looking to move forward, I think best way is to.
I mean, I don't have a team.
At least the people who are listening, if they want to move forward, right? Yeah. Let them be part of the reforms that is going to happen now. Be part of it. Be a progressive partner. Not to blame each other, or not to say, මෙයා හොරාරයාගේ name එක රාජපක්ෂ. මොකද මට තේරෙන විදිහට ඔයාගේ post එක දැන් මම ඉන්ටර්වියු කරනවා කියලා අපු comments දැක්කම ඒ තනිකර anti රාජපක්ෂ comments තියෙන්නේ. Right? එතකොට ඒක ඇත්තටම reform change එකක්ද රාජපක්ෂ විරෝධයක්ද? බැලුමට prima facie payne, this is anti-Rajapaksa movement. So this anti-Rajapaksa movement was, are they actually looking for Rajapaksa change, or are they actually looking for an administration change? So at අවශ්‍යතාවයේ තියෙන administration change එකක් නේ. අවශ්‍යතාවයේ තියෙන්නේ polling වල යන්න නැතුව දේශපාලඥයන්ගේ politicians ලගේ පස්සේ යන්න නැතුව තමන්ගේ දරුවට රස්සාවක් නෑ. විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය ගියාම අවශ්‍යතාවයේ තියෙන්නේ උපාධිය හම්බෙච්ච එකම රැකියාවක් ගන්න එක නම් නැත්නම් മന്ത്രി පස්සේ යන එක නෙවෙයි නම්, right? ඒ අවශ්‍යතාවය ඉටු කරගන්න ඇන්ටි රාජපක්ෂ වෙලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. මම අරගලේට විශ්වවිද්‍යාල සහෝදරයන්ට අද ගුරුවරු ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් කරගෙන ඉන්නවා. Teachers, their biggest issue now apparently is the sari they wear, right? For me, the biggest issue now is education system. So are we going to fight now to change the Sharia, or are we going to fight to change the education system? හැබැයි අපි හිතනවා නම් ගුරුවරයා ඩෙනිමයි ටී-ෂර්ට් එක ඇඳන් ආවම ළමයාගේ අනාගතය හදනවා කියලා. ළමයා ඉගෙන ගන්නවා කියලා. ඒක වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So what I'm trying to tell you is we need proper reforms. ඒ reform කරන්න නම් මල්ලි, ඒ reform කරන්න නම් නිකම් මෝඩ විදියට, right? Perception පිටිපස්සේ ගිහිල්ලා හරියන්නේ. You to understand the reality.
We need reforms. I agree, totally agree, 100%. But what we fight, what I fought, what the people I know fought for, reforms, yes. System change, reforms, yes. Plus accountability. We are not getting accountability is the question here. Like I said in previous thing, if Ranil is giving us accountability, we don't have a problem with Ranil. Ranil is not giving us accountability, and he's trying to save the.
What do you mean by corruption and accountability? Perception or reality? Truth, right?
So I just told you. No, not the perception. I'm telling the truth. I'm telling you what happened with sugar scam. What happened? You are telling what happened with the bond scam. So
I agree. All these have to be investigated properly, but not politically. Not politically. මොකද යහපාලන ආණ්ඩුව අපි දැක්කේ ඔක්කොම පොලිටිකලි ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේට් කරනවා. ඒක නාම රාජපක්ෂට වාඩි වෙලා IGP එක වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන්ස් ගෙනියන්න බෑ. ඒක කළ යුතු නෑ. සහ නොකළ යුතුයි. ඒක රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ ජනාධිපතිතුමා වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන් කළ යුතු නෑ. right? හැබැයි ඒ අදාළ ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට්ස් ඉන්ඩිපෙන්ඩන්ට්ලි ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන් කරන්න ඕනේ. බාර් ඇසෝසියේෂන් එක ෆයිට් කරන්න ඕනේ ඒකට.
But
right? You guys have to fight for that. But the problem is ඔයාලගේ ෆයිට් එකේ පිච් එක wrong.
ප්‍රශ්න තියෙන්නේ out of 184 OICs in the country, 192 was appointed by SLPP. Isn't that right? So
one of the biggest allegations Gotabaya Rajapaksa had from politicians are not changing OICs.
Let me finish. And also, when Basil Rajapaksa was coming into Sri Lanka, the police commission chairman was there saying hi. That
you know
was
why?
a
Because police commission is going to be changed because of the 21st amendment.
But he's still
but that's going to be changed. So, police commission will be reappointed.
Nah, it's good.
Police commission is going to be reappointed. And
Anyway.
you know, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa තිබෙන ලොකුම චෝදනාව තමයි දේශපාලනඥයන්ගෙන් පොලිසිය සහ රජයේ නිලධාරි මාරු කරනවා කියන එක. ඒක ගමෙත් තියෙනවා. ඒක ඇත්තටම කියන්න ඕනේ ගම්මලක් තියෙන ලොකුම චෝදනාවක්. ඉතින් ප්‍රෙසිඩන්ට් ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂගේ ඇඩ්මිනිස්ට්‍රේෂන් එකේ යටතේ කිසිම OIC කෙනෙක්ව පොලිටිකලි අපොයින්ට් කරේ නැහැ. I must say that. And රජයේ සේවකයෝ ග්‍රාම සේවක වෙන්න පුළුවන්, GA වෙන්න පුළුවන්, දිසාපති වෙන්න පුළුවන්, even secretaries. Some of the secretaries who appointed to my ministry was giving evidence against Gotabaya Rajapaksa during Yahapalne government, but he never kicked them out. He gave them to me when I was the Minister of Youth and Sports.
Anyways, moving on to next question. Everyone tell that you are following your father's footstep by joining the politics. Many would say you had unfair amount of opportunities due to your connections. I'm not only talking about you, I'm talking about Sajid Premdas, I'm talking about Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was the son of an entire Rajapaksa family, and I'm talking about Kanchana Wijesekara. I can go, if I'm right, I have some other names also. My question is, how would you answer the public's outcry of nepotism in Sri Lanka? By the looks of it, if you get a chance in another 15 to 20 years, you would make your son as a politician.
It's a decision to be taken by us. I mean, my son can do politics, he might not do politics. He might do politics. I mean, we see people like Honorable Jaya Jayawardena's sons. Some of them are in politics, some of them are not. So it's a personal choice of individual. But the question is not that. Just because your father is a politician, don't you have a right to do politics? You have a right to do politics. You have a right to do what you like. Whether you want to be a doctor, lawyer, business or engineering, or you want to become a journalist. But it's not fair for you to blame. Just because your father is a politician, you cannot be a politician. There are many people who get opportunities, but only few grab it, right? Only few grab it. I mean, it's not only me or Sajid or Kanchan or Shehan or Khanaka or Naveen Disanayaka who are parents of politicians. There are many others. But only few actually worked hard to come up. And look at Sajid Premdas. I mean, you think he can be the opportunity just because his father was the president? No, he can't. He worked hard. I know him. He was in Hambantota. He was going against me ever since I came into politics. He works hard. And him working hard makes me work hard. Because I had to compete with him, right? And I know how hard Honorable Kanchana Wijesekara works. And I know how hard Naveen and the rest of the team works. I know how hard Shehan and them, Khanaka, Chanaka, how hard they work. I mean, they're hardworking kids. They're working 24 hours to become good politicians, not because their fathers are politicians. But it's an opportunity you get. I mean, there are many people, there are a lot of people who are in businesses, their parents, but children doesn't want to do business, right? They do something else. So it's a personal choice that we all take. And I'm proud of my father. I'm very happy. And I know for a fact, I always believe, and I keep on believing, that dynastical politics will not survive unless you work hard. We have enough examples in our country, in our region. And dynastical politics is not only in Sri Lanka. You go to US, UK, Europe, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, it's all over the place.
Again, just because other people are doing it doesn't mean everything is right. So, yeah. Anyways, next question. How would you address the allegations around you passing the Bar Council examinations? Some people say you passed it in a very unlawful method. And that's one
Let me
question.
answer this
Number
because
two
this is
are
a
you
serious
ever
allegation, not
that's the
against
same
me, but
that's
against
the same
the.
question. That's the same
Sorry.
question. That's the same question. Same question continuation. One, it's like the allegations again. How did you pass the examinations? Number two is, will you ever use that in court? Your law degree
Number
and bar council.
one, the allegations were there from Japan government or from the day I sat for exams. There was time where people blame politicians' kids for not studying, playing the fool. So one for all, someone decided to study, then you blame that you copy and pass exams. That has been the practice of Sri Lankan politics, and I think regional politics. But I think blaming the bar exams is not an insult for me, but for the actual bar council. And anyone can question. I took oaths in front of CJ, Chief Justice of this country, and no one can do that sort of system with local exams because it's a very professional organization and professionally managed and conduct. And exams are done very professionally. So anyone can go and find out themselves as to what's going to happen. And at the same time, about your second part of the question, I did practice from the time I got oaths for a couple of years, especially during the opposition time, the Hapalni time, I did practice a bit. But now I have no intention of practicing, and I think I need to decide between my political career and my legal career. So I decided to go in my politics. So I'll become a professional politician and not pursue with legal career.
Can you tell us one case
There
that
are many cases that I practice in Hammadura High Courts, and I'm sure you can go and refer to the High Court journal and find out. And then, by the way, it's criminal, right? So not civil.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Next question. How well do you know Wasim Tajuddin?
I know him very well. He played rugby with me.
Allegations. Let me finish it. How well do you know Wasim Tajuddin? Because strong allegations are there that your family is involved in his death. So with Lasantha Vikramatunga, Pradeep Eknaligoda, and many more. Even though these are allegations, most of the people think these are truth that haven't been proven yet. You can say it's allegation that's in court and stuff. So I'm going to bring some information that's been in published in articles. When it comes to Lasantha Vikramatunga, before he was murdered, he was sued by Gotabaya Rajapaksa for 1 billion rupees for pointing out an article which is regarding the MIG deal. Before he died, he wrote an article in Sunday Leader where he said, "When finally I am killed, it will be the government that kills me." In this particular case, the investigation officer, Nishanta Silva, suggests that this particular murder was done by a military intelligence unit, Tripoli Platoon, which is directly coming under Gotabaya Rajapaksa at that time, who was the defense secretary. And I'm coming to the Tajuddin's case, where the CID believes he was kidnapped in WP KA0642 vehicle, which is donated by the Red Cross Society to Shirley Savia, charity run done by your mom. Wasim Tajuddin was kidnapped that night in Kirlapana. And also, they acquitted 2 people who were dead, DIG Anura Senanayake for covering up the murder, and also someone called modern data. So my question again is, before you deny these allegations, how much do you know Wasim Tajuddin, and what do you have to say about these strong allegations against your family?
I know Wasim Tajuddin very well, and also Mr. Lasantha, also very close to my father. And in fact, his family knows that he was in touch with my father in his last moment in his life. And they were working. They have been known in politics for a very long time. So let me make it very clear: we have no intention of doing politics with murder. We don't believe in that. And we did fight a war, and we were very ruthless. I mean, we fought a war. We fought against Prabhakaran, and we did the way we have to handle him. Nothing else. But it doesn't mean that we will repeat the similar system outside. But we did fight a war with terrorists, and a way they can understand us. But Wasim, yes, I mean, we have played rugby for a long time, and this topic comes up every time when there's election. Every time when there's election. And initially, it was blamed at a girl, saying he had a relationship with that girl, and that girl was bought CID. And none of these people who talks about women's rights spoke on behalf of her, falsely accusing a lady for having a relationship with this boy. And it went to my brother, then it went to my mother, and then they blamed me. And they kept OIC in charge in the Narayanpeta police for many years in remand, and the investigations going on. So, when you blame for political reasons, there's a difference between two things. There's a difference between actual accusation and accusations are made during elections. So, all these cases were accused, right, were brought up during elections. I'm sure when the local council elections are declared, again these names and these topics will come up. But that will not bring justice to any of them. So I personally believe that both these cases must give a fair hearing, and the truth has to be revealed, and I will give my full support.
So you said you got, like, your father fought the war what it was necessary. We are talking about Tamil genocide as well. So it was that necessary.
You mean Tamil genocide by LTT when they shot the civilians who were trying to go away? Yes, we had to stop that. We had to stop that.
I'm talking about the
because
incident.
There are enough evidence that LTT was shooting at civilians. And I was the first to go to North in 2009, by the way, after the war was ended. I lived in Kilnochi for 6 months for demining and resettlements. I helped to build all the houses. You can ask from anyone in Kilnochi who Namal Rajapaksa is when they saw me. I was the first to receive them, right? And I'm telling you, LTT did genocide. They killed civilians. They used human shields, and that is wrong. That is wrong. And they use kids as suicide bombers, and they gave cyanide to young kids to put them around their neck, and when they see police or army, to eat it and kill their suicide.
Let's say for once I agree with you on this, but do you agree with what I said?
There was no intentional damage done to any civilian during that wartime. I'm telling you with a lot of responsibility.
So how about these things against Wasim Tajuddin's case and Lasanta's case that's clearly showing finger point at your family?
Right? I mean, just because you sue someone and that person be killed by someone else, you're not responsible for that. Right? So that's what I'm saying. Impartial investigation must take place, not politically biased investigation. And we should not, you and me or any politician should make it very political because it's not good for them. It's not healthy for the investigation as well and for the family.
Okay. Anyways, moving on to the audience questions. How are you any different than your father and uncle? Since you're talking about accountability for the crimes, would you hold any of them accountable for any crimes?
You can't be the good cop and tell that your uncle and your father is wrong and be a good person to the society. Right? You have to be honest. You have to do what is right and you have to tell what is wrong is wrong. So just because someone might advise me saying, Namal, listen, in politics, then don't worry, right? Because we believe in policy. My father's politics is based on policy, and my politics is based on policy. That's why I started my conversation saying I believe in social democracy. And my political party is based on that, and I believe in policy. I believe in reforms, and I believe the system has to change, and that change cannot happen through revolution. We, you, myself, the society has to understand. My God, then tell Polima Tianakal Kidin bicycle pedal. Then other Kidin bicycle pedal. We have to accept that we need a lifestyle change. We need a lifestyle change. We have to change. All of us. The system has to change. People have to change. Expectations has to change. So, Nuzly policies, yes. My father and myself, we have a lot of similar politics. Similar policies when it comes to politics, but my uncle and myself, we have different policies when it comes to politics because my uncle is not a politician. My father is a politician. But there are good things about my uncle that I can learn from him. He's a very neat guy. He knows what he's doing. He's very thorough. He does do a lot of research. He does a lot of reading, but he's not a listener. But my father is a good listener. So politics, yes, I will always learn from my father, and I will also learn from mistakes that we have done in the past, and move forward. There's no point just hanging behind, looking at what happened in the past, but look for the future.
Okay, next question is Bhuvanak is asking, your family in successive governments pardoned convicted war criminals, and also I would like to add convicted murderers as well. One is in Parliament right now. Do you have
Who is
anything
in
to say
Parliament
about
right now?
Chokamali?
Who?
And also, what's his name?
He was not
Premraj
actually given presidential pardon.
And
He came from Court of Appeal.
Incident, the Acuras, who? Let's talk about Duminda Silva and also
Appeal Court
chairman who was raped with
Namal Rajapaksa Appeal Court taken Nidasura, then Supreme Court appeal Kaladino. So it didn't come from politics.
So let's anyways going to the direct question about Bhuvanaka, your family is in successive government pardon convicted war criminals.
Because my father rehabilitated 12,000 LTT cadres and gave them employment at Civil Defence Force. And Namal Rajapaksa and my father both pardoned a lot of LTT suspects and who were convicted for genocide or suicide missions, aiding and abetting. And even Mr. Vikramasinghe has his bill. I hope he will also give some pardon for these LTT kids. I mean, now they're not kids anymore. When they came into remand, they were kids. Other than that, what are you referring to?
How about leave that war criminal part? How about
because I answered that with war criminal because you specifically said war criminal. That's why I want to answer.
Yeah. Let's talk.
Duminda Silva's case were heard, and it was a clear. This is my personal belief. I'm not going to challenge the Supreme Court judgment, or I'm not going to challenge the High Court judgment. It's given by court of law. And President, within his powers, he can pardon anyone. That is his power that is given to him constitutionally, not by anyone else, by the Constitution. And Gotabaya Rajapaksa is not the only president who has used that. There were times where President Premadas used it for underworld leaders as well to keep him putting them to his own security afterwards. But this case, I personally believe that that case was fabricated during Yahapalne government. I'm not trying to blame Yahapalne government, but Hirunika himself mentioned in media that he's going to do this, she's going to do this. And Ranjan Ramanayaka has given enough voice recording, talking to even going up to the extent of talking to the judge. Ranjan Ramanayaka's voice, right? So, one before question Gotabaya Rajapaksa for pardoning him should question Mr. Ranjan Ramanayaka for calling a judge to fix a case, calling police officers to fix a case, investigation officer being advised by a politician how to do the investigation and when to do and whom to be remanded. I think that is something that you must question. And I heard he's in NASA now looking for Chichi satellite, so it's a good thing. I'm sure he'll come and answer. I'm sure he'll come back and tell where the satellite is now. But you need to question him. What right he had to call a judge and ask the judge to fix a case, right?
I mean, he went to jail for that.
He went for jail for something else.
I don't want to question that one. No, he went because one case was he's not respecting.
Yeah, that is different.
So let's leave it there.
Case, by the way.
Yeah. Anyways, another question: does Namal know what the cost of a 1 week basic essential food items are for two parent, one
well, yeah,
child?
cost of living is high, I must admit, because I went to Hambantota last week. I was there for a couple of days. I went to Anuradhapura. I'm going to Anuradhapura tomorrow for some meetings. I was in Vaunia, Mana, and then I was traveling on the southern coast for work. So I meet a lot of people. And I must admit the cost of living is high. And that is one reason why I didn't even went to vote for the tax bill today. I'm here talking to you, answering your questions, not in Parliament, voting for the tax. Because I don't believe in the tax system. I mean, you can't put 30% on export and expect economic to grow,
Yeah,
right?
asking for exact cost. Do you know exact cost? Like one
It
kilo of
depends
rice packet.
from
Do
where you
you
buy
know?
it. If you can go to Hilton
That's
and buy
what
it
I
for
say.
200, 2,500, but also you can buy it for 550 rupees in other places as well. So it depends where that person wants to buy the rice packet. But before you talk about rice packet, there are many other issues that the public is facing in rural areas. Lot of economical struggle. The electricity is going to go high. Tariff is going to go up again next week. And I actually personally from the subcommittee requested Honorable Kanchan and Haren Fernando and Dilu Mamanu government to see to give a subsidy for industries and SME tourism sector because that will bring a lot of dollars and save a lot of employment. Because if the factories start closing down, you've been charged 30% tax for exports, then your electricity tariff is high, then the fuel cost is high, and you have many other options in the world where you can actually put your factories for much more cheaper. Who's going to come and open the factories in this country, right? So we need to look after these investors in order to create more employment. So, so I think the cost of living has to be there. But I think my personal opinion is Mr. Wickramasinghe is actually working hard, and he has managed to bring down the prices gradually from 2000 from the last comparing to last 2 to 3 months. So I'm sure his economic strategy. I don't know. Sure, I believe that he has a strategy that things can be turned around to affordable price at least mid next year.
I'm actually smiled at a comment
Awesome.
that made. People are saying that you have bathed in a lubricant oil. You are deflection of the questions. Anyways, next question: would Rajapaksa ever
Well,
retire?
it's depend on the people. As I said, all the people who hate Rajapaksa, please come to Hammantra for next election and please work against me. That's a welcome note from myself. It's up to you. Don't stay in Colombo. Don't go on social media and placard because my voter base is not based on social media. So you can come. I have Vasam Pansiya Hatak Tira, Gram Sevaka Vasam. Mantri Kotta Sekase Paspatina, Bawasana Tunatina. Mahansila, Mao Paratan Traikara. That's it. It's up to you. It's up to the people who doesn't want to see me in parliament. You cannot chase me. You cannot scare me. I'm being very honest. And you can kill me if you want, but that's not going to be easy. But only way you can move forward or stop me is by defeating me from democratic election. So please come. You're welcome.
People will come apparently if you pay the fuel cost.
Well, I'll tell Sadiq Premdas and look into that. Oh, Mr. Right.
Next one. Why were activists arrested under PTA when they aren't terrorists? Couldn't the huge military budget mostly used to oppress the people in the north and east be redirected to relief aids? They're asking why they are arresting
Because the
under
behavior was
PTA or
terrorist,
Nanda Mudalige
right?
and
Because those
some
guys
other.
behave like
No,
terrorists.
just that was one question. Second question is why can't you divert the huge military budget to
Firstly, I think they behave like terrorists. They go try to take over Upani Corporation, take over President's office, take over Prime Minister's office.
I'm telling you, they are not the one.
Right?
They are not the one. They are not the one who.
Well, whoever it is, when you are on the same group,
so,
what else you want the government to do? Because President Gotabaya Rajapaksa didn't do anything. He had to pay the price. The country collapsed, economic collapse, because Aragali did not grow the economy. It collapsed further. So President Wickramasinghe had no other option but to control it. And I personally believe he took the right decision. And at the same time, I think
that's exactly
you guys should
choose
fight
Ranil
for
Wickramasinghe,
actual
right?
education reforms. I'm telling you on a serious note. Please fight for education reforms. Please change. We have to change the education system, not the Sariya, but the education system. If someone wants to wear sari or a kalisam, it's up to them. It's not my part of it's not my concern. But you have to change the economic system because you cannot have a 98% interest rate and 40% unemployment in this country. There is a mismatch. So all kids can do is to fight for education reforms, and that will change a lot of things. I'm telling you.
So yes, I completely disagree with you in this personally. you can disagree with them for so many reasons, but Aragale came in because of the failures of the leaders and also the official that was made. So if you are going to keep them inside for fighting for their
But I
fathers
don't
and
think
mothers, that's
any of
really
the active
ridiculous.
Aragalia kids are inside because you're outside. You're very active on it. There's no case against you.
Yeah, you
Right?
just say tomorrow.
And there are, and some of your leaders are working at the president's office. They have no cases against them. And some of them are
No,
advisors to
I
the
mean,
cabinet state ministers. They have no cases against them. But there are certain people who behave very badly, brother. We need to take action. We have to take action.
but
There has to be law and order.
if you're asking Vasanta Modalige and Siridham
See,
Hamdru, I would say no.
Vasanta
I personally
Mudalige,
believe that.
yeah,
It's
that
my
is your
personal.
personal opinion, but the president and the government has a different opinion on that. And I actually don't know Vasanta personally. I haven't met him. And even Hamduru, I haven't met him. And if you think a Buddhist monk getting involved in politics is wrong, what he has done is also wrong. If you think that, if you think that Hamduru, Deshapal,
I
right?
no, honestly, I don't think that. What my point is, what my question was, SLPP involving racism in the politics is wrong.
No,
That's what I
racism is a
said.
different
Not
story,
Hamiduru
හාමුදුරුවෝ කෙනෙක්ගේ
fathers,
හැසිරීම පිළිබඳව මම ඒ ගැන කතා කරන්න කැමති නැහැ.
Maulavis
මොකද
doesn't.
මගේ personal opinion එක තමයි ආගම ගැන we should debate. You, me or anyone. Because that's a personal belief. I'm a strong Sinhala Buddhist. I'm a strong Buddhist. And I respect all religions. Most of my friends are Hindus and Tamils and Muslims. Most of my friends are Muslims. Most of my close friends are either Tamil or Muslims. And I have very few Buddhist close friends or Christian close friends. But my mom is a Christian Catholic. My mother is a Catholic. And my close friends from school are Muslim or they're Tamil. So I grew up in a very different background. And I personally believe not to debate about the religion because it's a personal belief. Some people think they play cricket because of the religion. Some people think they do politics because of religion. Some people think their faith is everything. That is their personal belief, and I don't think we should debate on that.
Again, moving on to that next topic, but your uncle made Jnanasara as a chairman of One Country, One Law. So next question, why don't you propose to reduce ministerial posts to reduce the
Let me answer it very directly, very short, without taking much of your time. One, I'm proposing from the National Council to have 20 ministries constitutionally gazetted. So no one can change the name or the ministry or the subject matter or the institutions under that ministry. And 10 ministers, President can appoint as he wishes. All 30 can be decided by the President and the Prime Minister according to the Constitution. And I have proposed a need assessment to be done regarding the government institutions. Then got to පොල් ගන්න example පොල් ගහට එක සංස්ථාවක් එක ඔෆිස් එකක් තියෙනවා පොල් පැඩේට තව ඔෆිස් එකක් තියෙනවා පොල් ගෙඩියට තව එකක් තියෙනවා පොල් කඳට තව එකක් තියෙනවා. So there is a time, this is the time that we have to do a need assessment about some of our institutions. So need assessment එකක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒකම I'm pushing from the National Council to finish or implement the UID, unique digital ID card, much as soon as possible. So that will enable citizen services through digital services or digital platforms, fingerprints, biometrics, facial recognition, eye scanning. So that system is implemented, then you can reduce some of the departments or officials or institutions or political ministries or whatever it is. But without doing that, if you try to compact everything because you feel this is the right way, I mean, that's not going to happen. And it's not going to be practical because one minister having 10 portfolios with 250 department institutions is not going to be practical. Unless you do a need assessment. After doing a need assessment, you need to cut down the institutions, merge, and then gazette 20 ministries constitutionally with the name and the institutions and their work responsibilities. And that's why I propose to have a commission under the President's Secretariat or under the executive, I would say, to be very precise, a policy commission to transform Sri Lanka under the executive responsible to the parliament. So that particular institution will have ministers, officials, and the private sector, INGO and NGOs, and also a CEO to run the institution to make sure that the national policies are implemented and KPIs are looked into, and if at all, if it is not matched then the accountability, the action can be taken. So that is something that I'm going to do with the National Council first quarter of next year. And I had a couple of meetings with the President Secretary, Prime Minister Secretary, and the relevant authorities. So we are looking at merging a couple of institutions, national planning, physical planning, and project monitoring. And there's another institution called Akiasa Municipal Department. So trying to merge all these and have one particular institution, a commission under the executive to transform Sri Lanka. So that any political party, whether it's my political party or I won't say your political party because you will say your political, but whoever it is, before going into election, they have to screen their manifesto to the National Planning Commission or through the Planning Commission to transform Sri Lanka, whether that particular policy is in par with the national plan. Because sometimes you see the politicians make statements without looking at the reality. At one time we said we are going to increase 10,000 rupees by Yahapal government servant salary. What happened? Our economy couldn't take that kind of cash outflow. Then we promised to give free fertilizer. For 2 years, we gave free chemical fertilizer, and the economy couldn't take it. So before we make that kind of commitment in the manifesto, this particular commission can give opinion to the people, not opinion, but they can go through a screening process and announce to the people whether this particular manifesto by this political party is in line with the national policy, or if not, they can still implement it, but they need to bring funding from outside. Then it's up to the people to decide what they want.
As far as the new commission is also not corrupt.
Well, it's
last
corruption
question,
is something that we have to work. We have to work with digitalization, because more you reduce the human contact and bring citizen services to digital platforms, you will minimize the corruption. Without bringing citizen services to digital platform and you keep people in the queue, you cannot stop corruption. Petra polim indala polimata rupiyal 1000ක් දීලා වැඩිපුර 1000ක් දුන්නා full tank ගහනවා නම්, right? තවත් gas පොලිමක ඉඳලා රුපියල් 2500ක් දුන්නම gas එක ගෙදරට ගෙනත් දෙනවා නම් පොලිමේ දවසෙම ඉන්න මිනිස්සයා තාම පොලිම පිටිපස්සේ සල්ලි තියෙන එක්කෙනා ගෙදරට gas එක ගෙන්න ගන්නවා නම් ඒ system එකේ වැඩක් නැහැ නේ. Then you need to have a proper digitalized platform for citizen services, which will address most of these issues.
Last question. How does Namal feel when international government or these people compare him to Uday Hussein?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Bhuvanaka asks, how does Namal feel when international governments compare him to Uday Hussein?
Well, I feel very proud of my father that the international community is so concerned about him. And they are so worried that they couldn't finish terrorism in their own country. And they start blaming the person who eradicated terrorism for the first time in the world in Sri Lanka. And I'm very proud the fact that I come from Nadamulla and my father is from Nadamulla. My grandfather was in nomination as Parliament. මගේ තාත්තා එතනින් ඉස්සරහට ඇවිල්ලා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා බවට පත් වෙලා ඉතිහාසයේ ෆාස්ටස්ම ගෝයින් ඉකොනොමි එක හදලා highways කියන එක 1986 මම ඉපදිච්ච අවුරුද්දේ මුල් කළා තියලා හදාගන්න බැරි වෙච්ච highway එක 2005 පටන් අරගෙන first time ලංකාවේ road network එකක් හදලා දීලා 2 million වලට tourism increase කරලා single digit වල unemployment ගෙනල්ලා 8000ක් විශ්වවිද්‍යාල ගිහපු ළමයි 24000කට වැඩි කළා, right? අවුරුදු 30ක් ඉවර ගන්න බැරි වෙච්ච යුද්ධ ඉවර කළා මුළු ලෝකෙම පරද්දන්න බෑ කියපු ටෙරරිසම් අවසන් කළා අද ලෝකෙම টপিක් එකක් බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. So I think I should be proud of it.
But right now I guess the wrong
it's politics. You can't always be the good boy in politics. Politics is politics. You have to accept reality, and if someone doesn't want to accept reality in life and expect politics to be a better place than any other job, please don't do politics. Politics is this. Today you will be treated as a god or a hero or your leader. Tomorrow they might even not look at you. And that has been politics globally, not only in Sri Lanka. So if you are doing politics, please accept good and bad and take it with a big smile, because that is the only way forward you can have in life.
Thank you so much,
Thank you. I
Namal.
hope I
Thank
didn't
you.
put you in
Thank
trouble
you
with
for
your friends
joining
from
us.
Aragale because I saw a lot of bad comments about you. And I must tell those guys, just please leave him alone and move on with your life.
As much as you say it now, they will
But I'm a
suck it in.
politician. No, I know what to do. Anyway, man, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Exactly. You're putting me in trouble.
Thanks,
Anyways,
guys. Take
thank you so much, Namal.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. It was good having you. Thank you.